Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Anthony Mayer. As part of the memorial's commemorations to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, this evening we will commemorate the 80th anniversary at the Battle of Wewak, which took place during the New Guinea campaign, beginning on the 11th of May, 1945. Wewak was the last Australian campaign on mainland New Guinea, finally captured by from the Japanese between the 11th to the 15th of May, 1945. The Australian offensive began back in November 1944, directed east along the coast of Atapi. By the end of March 1945, they reached within 40 kilometres of Wewak, where some of the most severe fighting of the campaign took place. A seaborne landing was made by two commando squadrons east of Wewak on the 11th of May to cut the coastal road. The 19th Australian Brigade then seized Wewak Point and moved to take the airfield the next day. By the 15th of May, the Australians had gained complete control of the coastal zone. The Japanese force broke into smaller groups and moved inland, still numbering some 35,000 men. The reduction of Japanese forces in Atapi Wewak area had still not been completed at this time of the Japanese capitulation in August. The Australian advance to Wewak cost 442 men killed and over 1,000 wounded. Japanese losses were put at 9,000 killed, with only 269 taken prisoner. Today, we remember the Battle of Wewak. We pay our respects to the men and women commemorated here on the Roll of Honour and to the survivors who returned home. This evening, we warmly welcome Mr. Patrick Delgeis, Deputy President of the Return and Services League of Australia, ACT branch. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and their families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If you're able, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and in operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Harold Oliver Hughes. Harold Hughes was born on the 22nd of September 1919 in Smithtown, a riverside village on the Macleay River on the New South Wales north coast. The son of Albert and Edith Hughes, he grew up in Smithfield and went on to work as a factory hand. Harold Hughes enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force at Kempsey on the 21st of June 1940 at the age of 20. Marching into the nearby town of Rutherford, Private Hughes began initial training. After a short trip to hospital with influenza, in August he transferred to the 2nd 4th Battalion. By this time, the 2nd 4th had already been in action overseas, joining the campaign against Italian forces in eastern Libya, and then deploying to Greece to resist the German invasion there. Hughes joined his new unit after it had returned to Palestine for further training. Graded cook in January 1942, he and his new comrades embarked for home mid-February, arriving at Adelaide in late March. In June, the 19th Brigade was deployed to defend Darwin, and the 2nd 4th remained there for what became a boring and frustrating year. Hughes did not let time go to waste, however, attending cookery school and being promoted to the rank of corporal. The 2nd 4th rejoined the rest of the 6th Division, training in northern Queensland in June 1943. And another 18 months would pass before it saw action again. Frustration with the lack of action was evident. Corporal Hughes was found absent without leave in July and was docked 15 days' pay as punishment. In January 1944, he was again found absent without leave, this time losing 2 days' pay. The 2nd 4th Battalion landed at Atape in New Guinea on the 2nd of November 1944 to undertake its only campaign against the Japanese. Atape had been occupied by the Japanese in 1942 and was recaptured by an American landing in April 1944. In order to free American troops for operations in the Philippines, defence of the area was passed to Australian forces. Australian commanders wanted to advance to the east of Atape towards Wewak to destroy the remnants of the Japanese 18th Army, which had already taken heavy losses. The Australian advance began in earnest in December 1944. One attacking force would push along the coast towards the Japanese base at Wewak, while another moved into the Torres-Cali Mountains to take control of the area the Japanese were using for gardening and foraging. Prolonged small-scale patrolling took place amidst difficult jungle conditions. While there were casualties from combat, these were outstripped from disease and illness. By the end of the Atape-Wewak campaign, the Australians had lost more than 440 men killed and some 1,100 wounded in battle. More than 16,000 would be listed as sickness casualties. Promoted to sergeant on the 30th of January 1945, that same day, Hughes was sent to a casualty clearing station, suffering from an unexplained fever. While he returned to duty shortly afterwards, he would be back in hospital with malaria in April. Despite the difficult environment and an outbreak of a strain of malaria that was resistant to the soldiers' medication, Atabrin, Sergeant Hughes and his comrades in the 2nd Fourth continued to push forward. Constrained by supply difficulties, progress was slow but steady. On the 27th of April, the order was given to capture Wewak. Supporting Hughes and the other infantrymen were Matilda tanks and flamethrowers. Not only could their jets of flame follow the contours of a dugout or a bunker, but the radiant heat and toxic gases could also kill. When Japanese forces would not surrender, cave entrances were guarded until engineers came forward to blow them up, sealing the occupants inside. The 2nd Fourth seized the strongly defended position of Wewak Point on the 10th of May. Fighting around the area continued until the 15th of May, when men from the 2nd Fourth Battalion, with armoured support, attacked Japanese positions overlooking the airstrip. This marked the beginning of the end of the Atape-Wewak campaign, the last major campaign on mainland New Guinea in the Second World War. Australian casualties in the campaign amounted to 442 killed and 1,141 wounded. Among the dead was Sergeant Harold Hughes, who was killed in action on the 11th of May 1945 as his unit took control of Wewak. He was 25 years old. Initially buried near where he fell, today his remains lie in Lay War Cemetery under the inscription chosen by his grieving family. His duty fearlessly and nobly done, ever remembered. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Harold Oliver Hughes, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.